the truth, no facades. On my grind every day, stay. I'm the truth, no facades. On my grind every day, stay. I'm the truth, no facades. On my grind every day, stay. I'm the truth, I'm the truth, I'm the truth. I flex when I step, self-made, that's a bet. In my zone, feeling blessed, not a clone, I'm unique. Counting wins, not the stress, with success on my crest. Heavy crown, but I'm strong, never bound to defeat. Riding clean, watch me gleam, elevate to extreme. 808s, hit the beat, my reflection's what I meet. Rocking jewels, breaking rules, my own path, power leads. I'm the one taking flight, hottest peak in my sight. I'm the truth, no facades, on my grind.
Yep. For 9 years, I've been saying that reviewers hold tremendous power over people. YouTube channels and forum posters are now more influencers than objective information sources, and they know that. Why do you think they put in all that effort towards flashy videos, their yearly influencer Zoom get-togethers to promote their personal favorite gear, their list of tiered lists? Why do you think they have Patreon memberships that unlock more secrets the more you pay? Lots of people have told me I'm wrong, and that it's not the reviewers but the consumer's fault. That the consumer is to blame for their bad decisions, which is true for a substantial portion of the blame, but not all of it. This is what I call shifting the blame, and very narrow thinking from people who should know better, but choose not to. These reviewers, and let's be honest, they're influencers, a term I very much use with the utmost derision. Have it good. They get gear for free, sing praises, make money from the many thousands of views, and then move on, seldom if ever going back to the gear they reviewed, even if the gear they promoted turned out to be a scam. In my last video, I talked about LH Labs, a company that took in $6 million without producing more than a whisper of their gear in return. At least 13,000 backers got bamboozled into losing a large chunk of money, and by the time they realized what had happened, it was all too late. They couldn't get their money back from Indiegogo because of Indiegogo's hands-off policy. They couldn't file a criminal case against LH Labs because crowdfunding is by definition a gamble. They couldn't sue LH Labs in civil court because, once again, the crowdfunding scheme protects companies from liability. You know, this sort of stuff continues to happen in different ways. AudioQuest, Less Loss Audio, Sennheiser even, nearly every company that sells so-called audiophile cables, and of course the typical uber-subjectivist forums where spending more and more money on fantastical products is a cherished tradition passed on down to the newest initiate. Look, I want to read to you an email conversation I had with a man called Dale. Dale was one of those who was scammed by LH Labs. This discussion took place in 2020 when I was doing my initial research into LH Labs. I will only read the comments he wrote directly. I think they serve as a cautionary tale, and I hope his story is helpful for those who are caught in the audiophile bullshit loop. So I first asked him, when did you become aware of the LH Labs products being sold on Indiegogo? And his response was, in November 2013, when the buzz hype started on hifi. I was looking for a new desktop balanced DAC amp setup as I had recently purchased some Sennheiser HT800 cans that would benefit from a higher power amp. Next question, do you remember how word got to you about those products? E.g., did LH Labs start posting in forums, which then caused you to check out the Indiegogo campaign? He responded, it wasn't posts from LH themselves as much as it was from other forum/community members, specifically hifi, as it was my go-to forum for all things headphone related. I do recall being more interested in it when other members of hifi announced their intent and joined the LH Indiegogo campaign. It also didn't hurt that the campaigns exceeded their goals for funding, so it looked like they should have had enough funds to complete and deliver the products. Seeing that so many others had purchased products through Indiegogo led me to believe the campaigns were a safe investment. I asked, Did you have any prior experience with LH Labs or Light Harmonic? If so, what? His response, over the years, I've done a lot of custom wiring for clients in their home theater and audio rooms. I had one client who had a Light Harmonic Da Vinci DAC. Remember, this is the one DAC that I mentioned in my last video, the one that cost originally $30,000 and is now still being sold, but at an increased price of over $51,000. Anyway, Dale says, I was quite impressed with it, but the price was not in my ballpark, so I just dreamed about owning an LH product. I asked, what LH Labs products did you fund? He responded, I initially started with the Geek Pulse DAC X, which, as the campaign progressed, became a fully loaded unit with all the Infinity upgrades. At the same time, I ended up purchasing the LPS4 analog power supply and a Geek Blue Bluetooth receiver, both products that I have actually received but are now gathering dust. I next added the proposed first model of the GeekWave portable DAC amp. That too was upgraded over time to a full Signature edition with the larger battery and the carbon fiber case upgrade. I also purchased the Geek Station X for the Wave. Next came the Geek Source Plus and its various upgrades. This was followed by a non-Indiegogo invoice or order for an upgrade to the LPS8 power supply along with their proposed 10-watt analog headphone amp with assorted preamp and amp daughter cards for tuning the Signature to the needs of the audio being listened to. I asked approximately how much money did you give to LH Labs and for what products? He said the total amount given to Indiegogo/LH over the course of the various campaigns exceeded $7,800 US. I'm still owed product for about $6,300 US worth of campaign products. The only products I've received have been the original LPS4 power supply, the Geek Blue Bluetooth receiver, assorted cables, and a Geek Out V2 Infinity portable DAC amp for use with USB devices. I do have accurate details, costs of the various purchases, and upgrades which I can supply if needed. Next question. When you place your orders, do you recall any promises about the delivery times? He said, as these products were crowdfunded, it was assumed that there might be some delays in estimated delivery timelines. That said, there were estimated delivery times attached to the Indiegogo listings, but none of these promised dates were met. Like others, I contacted Indiegogo about the campaigns, but Indiegogo themselves denied any responsibility and just left everyone having to try and get some answers from LH. Alas, the whole LH fiasco has soured my opinion on crowdfunding, and as such, I haven't been willing to support any further Kickstarter, Indiegogo crowdfunded projects. Other projects or campaigns have delivered, but as the saying goes, it only takes one bad apple to sour the bunch. I asked, do you remember the overall community response or support for LH Labs when the products were first announced? In other words, was there excitement about what LH Labs was doing? He said, yes. There was a great deal of positive response on what we all hoped was going to be an excellent product, namely the Geek Pulse DAC, as it was the item that started off all of the campaigns. Similar positive hopes were made by the community as each new product campaign upgrade product was announced. I asked, for you personally, what made you purchase LH Labs products? What features or aspects of the products appealed to you? He responded, the reputation of Light Harmonic, the parent company of LH Labs, was the major deciding factor, along with the fact that respected members of the hifi community had also placed orders. The LH Labs products all sounded great from a technical aspect, with features at a somewhat affordable price point. But as we now know, many that received their Pulse DAC amp units have had them fail. I'm not aware of anyone who's still using any of the products that were delivered. I asked, did you receive any of the products you ordered, and if so, how long was that from you placing the orders? He said, as mentioned above, I have received a number of their special cables that were ordered at add-ons to the various campaigns. I also received the LPS4 analog power supply, the Geek Blue Bluetooth receiver, and eventually I ordered and received a Geek Out V2 Infinity portable USB DAC amp, which I no longer use. I next asked, how long did you wait for the orders before you sent a request for an update on shipping? He said, my contact with LH Labs was both through Indiegogo and direct through their forums and email. I was extremely patient, but like many, I was disappointed that estimated shipping dates kept being missed. I never really gave up hope of receiving the items until my health took a turn in 2017, and I was forced into a disability income. As I am now on limited income, I started posting on the comments section of the Indiegogo campaigns to see if I would ever get anything in return for the money spent. All of my purchases were made starting with the original Pulse DAC in December of 2013 and running to the LH invoice for the LPS 8 upgrade and analog amp products in April of 2016. I asked approximately how many times did you communicate with LH Labs about your orders? He said, that's a bit hard to answer, but I've had numerous exchanges with LH Labs. Some through their support ticket system, others via forum posts, the comments section on the Indiegogo campaigns, and even voice or text with Jarek when he decided to become a shill for LH. You likely saw my comments on Jarek's recently on Audiophile Style, where he disputes that we ever talked by voice, even though I clearly remember it happening. Alas, I don't have the call logs that far back that would show this, so it's his word against mine. I asked, what do you remember being told regarding your order shipments? And he said, for the most part, I only had specific conversations with LH for the Geek Pulse DAC XFI. On one occasion, they offered to send me an XFI in the original 1.0 chassis that I could use to demo at a local headphone-related community meetup. I did receive that unit and they offered it to me to keep, but I had already donated for the upgrade to the 2.x chassis. After the meetup, I returned to the unit to LH Labs, but now wish I'd kept it so I would at least have been able to make use of the Geek Blue and LPS4. At least until the likely failure of the Pulse XFI as reported by numerous users who did receive their units. I next asked, did you finally ask for a full refund, and what was LH Labs' response? He said, I've never officially asked them for a refund, but responses to my comments on Indiegogo campaigns got me more frustrated. When my health failed and I no longer had the income to buy replacements, I started bugging LH for some sort of reimbursement. Alas, all that was ignored and never responded to other than by Jarek in the forums. And as you're probably aware, his comments and involvement were of no real help. I also asked, do you know the current status of the LH Labs or campaign supporters dispute? In other words, are you supportive of any legal action or have you disassociated from the dispute? And again, this is back in 2020. He responded, I joined the effort to try and get the California AG, or Attorney General, to file charges against LH Light Harmonic. As you are probably aware, that request was denied by the AG's office, but I'm still remaining attached to the group complaint and any efforts made by those who are also still waiting for their purchases. I considered filing a small claims case, but as LH Labs is in California and I'm in Alberta, Canada, that really wasn't something that would be easy to undertake. And with my health, I really don't have the energy, both physical and mental, to keep worrying about this. I'm at the point where I consider it a financial loss and would be very surprised if anything ever did happen to get us refunds or the products we purchased. Of course, the refund would be preferred, but as we know, Larry Ho, the LH owner, is apparently out of money and has made numerous trips to China to attempt to secure additional investor financing. None of these efforts have been successful based on what I have seen. Dale also went on to tell me that he's happy to supply his side of the story, but, quote, I truly don't expect this to result in any recompense from LH. Like others, I was offered the Stella or Mira IEMs, but I refused as I don't have the equipment that would take advantage of them. I suppose I could have accepted the IEM offer and then tried to sell them for some financial reimbursement, but I was still too frustrated by the issues surrounding the campaigns. I also heard the rumors that LH had actually used a competitor's designs for these IEMs, so I was reluctant to accept a product that may not even be theirs to sell or provide. This story from Dale is, in one respect, pretty heartbreaking. I mean, here we have a gentleman who spent nearly $8,000 of his money on products that he had hope and faith in. He had that hope and faith based initially and seemingly primarily based upon people on hifi, other subjectivists who fell into this trap themselves and then dragged him into it as well. The fact that Dale had a turn of health later on and simply could not continue to fight for what was his is another sad factor in this story. The problem with all of this is that it happens all the time. These audiophile companies, for the large part, prey upon people. They prey upon individuals who are not wise to these marketing scams. They prey upon people who are already biased towards believing certain audiophile myths. And they prey upon individuals who are just plain old gullible, could do the research but choose not to, instead are stuck in their preferred forum or YouTube channel, because that's where they get good feeling information. Not truthful information, but things that make them feel better personally. So the next time one of these fanboys shouts you down when you're trying to be critical about a product, I want you to remember Dale's story. I want you to keep in mind that these people who were victimized by LH Labs, Light Harmonic, by the hifi community, and yes, even though Dale doesn't seem to mention this, by reviewers online. These people were bamboozled into wasting their money, and they lost individually a lot of their income. $8,000 that could have been better used by Dale for his own personal health reasons. Collectively, $6 million went to a company that, one way or another, lost that money, drowned it in an ocean of deceit, of lies, of misdirection. And at the end of the day, when 2015, 2016, 2017, and eventually 2020, when it all rolled out, and people knew what had happened, that they had been scammed, at that point, did the reviewers go back and change their reviews? Did they go back to the written reviews on hifi and on What Hi-Fi and those other subjectivist websites? And did they add a disclaimer? Did they start talking negatively about this company? Did Zeos ever upload a video cautioning people against buying this product or any of LH Labs products? No. Because they don't care. Because it was a one-time thing. Because they got a product in their hands at the time they got it. They quickly uploaded a review that made no sense, and then they moved on. Because their job was done. That is the risk from reviewers that you take when you listen to reviewers. These influencers. Their only job is for you to buy. They're not there for the truth, and they're not there to actually hold companies accountable for what they do, for what they sell, and for what they say. And sadly, that is the culture within our audiophile community, where audiophiles would rather come to the defense of these channels, of these forums, of these review websites, instead of looking at them critically for the failures that they are and the influence, the negative influence that they propose and produce and instill on others. Use Dale's story as a cautionary tale. If you've found yourself in a position where you're about to spend a lot of money on some audiophile gear, take a step back. Really reevaluate what you're about to do. And in fact, this goes for anything, any hobby, any item that you're about to purchase. If you see a lot of hype, a lot of praise, there's probably some negativity hiding someplace, being hidden by the positivity, and you need to listen to that negative commentary so that you get a more full picture of what's happening. And remember, in audiophilia, The only thing that matters is your music and your connection to it, how it makes you feel. The gear is a very distant tertiary idea. The gear doesn't matter. The music, the artist, and your emotional connection to it does.